Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to our coffee times to talk about horror. And today, as you can tell by the title, I am here to give you some book and some movie recommendations if you, like me, are obsessed with Squid Game.
It's coffee time.
Now I know the last season came out a little bit ago, but that doesn't mean I am not still obsessed with it. I wanted to upload this video quicker, but I didn't have the time and I didn't want it to go to waste because we are still all expectantly waiting for the last season, that it's still going to come out in 2025. So I thought I would bring you some book recommendations, some TV shows, some movie recommendations. So there's going to be a lot of recommendations in this video. Let's get it started. Squid Games is a South Korean dystopian survival series. The series basically revolves around a secret contest in which 456 players are playing against each other in order to get the money in the end and be the only survivor. They are all in financial hardship, and that is why they agree to play the game. However, they don't know that the games are deadly until they get there. But even when they know that their life is at stake, a lot of them are willing to risk their own life because they are in so much debt that this is their only solution. They are playing children's games, so it should be easy, but there's a lot of twists and turns to this story. It's very interesting because the creator of the show already had this story in 2009, but nobody wanted to buy the story until Netflix in 2019 gave him the power. They said, okay, do the show, we'll pay for it, we'll put it on Netflix, and I am so grateful for that. The first season of Squid Game came out in 2021 and it became an immediate success. I remember how obsessed I was with it when it came out, and I've always loved the show so much. They even did a reality show based on Squid Game and I was living for it. I hope we're gonna get more seasons of that as well. So I was really excited when the second season was released at the end of December 2024, and we binged it as quickly as possible because we really enjoy the show. I love shows where there is a competition, where your life is at stake. It is no mystery. You guys know those are the ones that I love the most. I love dystopian stories that are like cutthroat games. Ultimately, Squid Games basically challenges the players to choose between money and being a human being, a decent human being, because a lot of times you have to throw somebody under the bus to make it to the next level. So because I love the show so much, and maybe some of you need more books to read, more shows and movies to watch that give you a little bit of that feeling of playing games that are deadly, I thought I would put this video together to give you some ideas if you, like me, have to wait patiently for the last season. I'm kind of sad it's going to be the last season, but I also understand why. It is something that if they keep milking it, probably is going to get less and less entertaining. And even though I really enjoyed season 2, I understand why they want to wrap it up soon. Let's start with the books, and I have 9 books. Like, this list is very long, so I'm gonna try my best to quickly get through it. The first 2 that I'm gonna mention, I feel like you would expect me to mention them, but I couldn't leave them out of this list because I feel like they are good choices if you have not read them yet. Battle Royale by Goshun Takami, and this is dystopian horror, and this was published in the 90s. The plot is simple. We have a government and they are basically having this ruthless plan to reduce the population. So every year they select a class in the country, they ship them to an island, and they give each of the students a weapon. Basically, they have to fight for their lives in that island. They have to kill each other until there is only one survivor left. And there has to be only one by the time the 24 hours are over. Otherwise, everybody that's still alive dies. It's basically Lord of the Flies for the 21st century, and this was published in 1999, so definitely I think that other books took inspiration from this story, and the author of this book was actually a journalist. Of course, I had to also mention The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins because it's also another dystopian, in this case YA story, where there are different districts in the world. The world is divided in districts, and there are districts that are richer, like 1, 2, and 3, and as we move forward they're poorer and poorer. Every year they celebrate the Hunger Games. They choose at random a boy and a girl from each district, and they send them to fight for their lives. And similar to Battle Royale, there can only be one survivor, so the games will go on until only one is alive. They don't have a deadline like in Battle Royale, but they still have to kill each other. So these two, Battle Royale and Hunger Games, I think everybody knows of them and most people have read these books, but if you haven't and you do enjoy Squid Games, these are great choices. Next we have Getting Away with Murder by Catherine Foxfield, and this is a YA mystery thriller, and basically you have kind of like a Squid Game scenario, but in this case our characters have to go through different escape rooms, and some of them are not gonna make it out alive. This book basically is posing the question, who would survive in a horror movie? The cheerleader, the jock, the nerd, the pretty girl, like all of those stereotypes that you have in horror movies. It basically is a new company that is going to offer personalized escape rooms to people, but everything is controlled by an AI. And the AI invites certain people to test the escape rooms before they're open to the public. However, once this group of people starts going through the rooms, they realize that they're being there basically to get murdered. The book is kind of like a psychological game. You are trying to figure out every single player, you are trying to figure out who is behind this, and the tension, the escape rooms, everything is so well executed. I love the atmosphere and the different, escape rooms because they are designed very differently from each other, and I thought it was a lot of fun. I also wanted to mention Tag You're Dead, also by Catherine Foxfield. This is another YA mystery thriller, and I think she does this kind of like game/contest that is deadly really well. We follow a teen social media influencer that wants to host a very special game, and it is a game of tag that is going to be played in the whole city, and he selects certain players to play the game, and when the game starts they realize that somebody's out there to kill them. The contestants are basically followed by GPS, and they know when they are disqualified, and they're into different groups. We have the chasers and we have the runners. So we have people that have to chase, obviously, the runners, and the runners have to get away from the chasers. But of course, some players have alternative motives. They have other reasons why they joined this game, and the story is being told from different POVs, so we get to experience different players in the game and their intentions and discover their secrets. They all seem to have a reason why they joined the game. They all seem to have a secret. Next we have Puzzle House by Dunkel Ratson, and this is an adult horror thriller. And this one is another one that has that kind of escape room vibe to it, and it's another one that was very interesting to read. 6 strangers are being summoned to the house of a puzzle maker. He has died, and he has summoned these people for, the read of his will. Now, some of these people don't even know the guy, so they don't know why they have been called for, the reading of the will, but all of them are offered something. If they decide to go into the house and play through the escape rooms, solve the puzzles, and make it out alive, they will get basically his whole fortune. They will get everything. So obviously the players all have a reason to enter this game because they all need the money. Every single room is an escape room, but these ones don't feel so high-tech. These ones feel more like down-to-earth regular rooms, and I really enjoy that. And in every room there is a puzzle to solve, and they have to solve it if they want to move on to the next room alive. However, obviously not everybody is going to make it out alive. Then we have New Year Island by Paul Draker, and this is a horror thriller. However, this is a chunker, and a lot of people might think this is very slow for being a 720 pages book. So I'm just putting it out there, lowering your expectations because this is a big boy. 10 strangers have been recruited for a very interesting reality TV show. Maybe a little bit shady, maybe they should have not accepted the invitation, but they are all being taken to an isolated island to play a game. They are abandoned in this island overrun by wildlife, and one of them is already immediately killed. It seems to have been a horrible accident, but was it? 9 are left and they realize that they are past survivors. They have something in common. They discover that they are trapped in this island, unable to leave, and they also discover that everybody in that island has secrets. Some of them are trying to escape, other ones are trying to solve the mystery, to solve the game so that they can escape alive. And I really love this premise. You have 10 strangers that are being, basically hired for a reality TV show. But then they realize that they have been abandoned in this island and all they can do now is fight against each other. All the dark sides of, the humans are gonna come out and they're probably gonna be backstabbing each other because all they want to do is get the money and get out of that island alive. Throughout the book, we get to learn more and more about the contestants and why they were picked to be part of this reality TV show. And we will learn more about why are they there, who orchestrated everything. So if you're willing to embark on this journey of 700 pages, this might be one that you will enjoy. We go back to YA horror slash thriller and we have Savage Island by Bryony Peters. A reclusive millionaire says that he wants to host a game and he wants to call it Iron Teen. He wants groups of teenagers to team up and come to an island and go through like different physical challenges, solving puzzles in order to get to the big prize. So we follow one of those group of teenagers. They are friends. They decide to sign up because they could really use the money and they decide to enter the competition. But when they get to the island and the competition really starts, they realize that the teams that are eliminated, disqualified from the competition, are killed for real. So now the pressure's on because they have to survive. They have to make it out of this island. They don't even care about the money anymore. They just want to be alive by the time they get off this island. And so it becomes kind of like a game of survival. And basically it means either your team makes it out alive or the other team. So they also kind of have to, or are pitched to, kill each other. Next we have 24/7 by Jim Brown, and this is a horror thriller. What if your survival depended on online voting? A lot of people would be screwed. On a small Caribbean island, there is a competition that is about to start. It is a new TV show called 24/7, and people are playing for a big cash prize. The island has over 600 cameras. Everything is being recorded for the show. And as with any reality TV show, what the public thinks about you sometimes have, positives, but also negatives. In this case, you gotta be careful because the public decides who lives and who dies. The contestants also have a collar around their necks that also serves as a camera so that nothing is missing, so everybody can see absolutely everything that they're doing and saying. There are multiple POVs, so you get to see what each contestant is thinking and doing and all of that, which I think is important in this type of stories. But also keep in mind that sometimes in this book the POVs change abruptly, so sometimes you might be a little bit confused to who are we changing to until you get used to the voices. And last but not least, we have Lie or Die by A.J. Clark, which is another YA mystery thriller, and it was also one of my favorite books of last year. I really love this book, and so I had to include it here. And also, if you love shows like The Traitors, I think this book is for you. 10 strangers are trapped in a reality TV show that is supposed to be like Big Brother, but the twist is that while the contestants are inside of the game, they have to play also a game of Mafia. They are called one by one to be told if they are just a regular player or a mafia. And they don't know, who might betray each other. So basically they're pitching the contestants against each other. There is betrayal, there is tension, they don't know who to trust. Of course, as with any game of Mafia, players have to be killed by the Mafia one by one. However, they soon realize that when the players are being eliminated, they're actually being killed for real. So somebody's killing them one by one. And they are trapped inside of the television studio. They are unable to call for help because obviously when you go into games like this, like Big Brother, you're not allowed to have connection to the outside world. So they don't have any way to call for help. I really enjoyed this one because you were so immersed with the game and the players. It was almost like I was there playing it with them, and I was very, very invested. It was a fast-paced, amazing read, and it's also getting a sequel, so all of you that want to try it, I strongly recommend it. So those were all the books, and now let's move on to a couple of TV shows that I think you might enjoy if you love Squid Games. Let's start with Alice in Borderland, which is a TV show that a lot of people do compare with Squid Games, and this is a story that comes actually from a manga, so this one has been adapted from the manga. This has the same concept in a way of Squid Game if you just take it as a simple if you don't play the game, you die, which is basically also what happens in Squid Games. Either you play the game or you die. The show follows a video game enthusiast and his two friends who mysteriously find themselves in a parallel Tokyo where they are forced to play various games to survive. Unlike Squid Games, the challenge is solving problems rather than competing against each other. But once the games start, they just keep coming and it gets more and more grisly as we move on. The next show I wanted to mention is a show that sadly was cancelled after the first season, but I really did enjoy that first season, and it is called Panic. This is a little bit more like a YA show, I would like to say, but I thought it was a very strong first season, and I was a little bit sad that they cancelled it because we have here another deadly game. This is another case where people are willing to face death and put themselves in risky situations in order to get money that they really need. Set in the small town of Carp, Texas, every summer graduating high school seniors compete in a competition called Panic. They perform dangerous challenges to try to win $50,000, enough money to get the hell out of Carp. It's obviously not as good as Squid Games and it is more for teens, but I really enjoyed it, and you have kind of like the same feeling, like these are people that are desperate to leave the lives that they have. They need money to be able to leave this town that they don't like. Some of them might have problems at home with their family, so they really depend on winning this money and they're willing to do anything. And the last TV show that I wanted to mention is 3%. This TV show is already finished, so all of the seasons that are available, that's it, so you can binge it if you want. This series is set during the reign of a totalitarian government in Brazil in which 20-year-olds have one chance to escape living in poverty and live among the rich and happy on an island paradise. But to do so, they have to be approved while going through the process. This is a series of tests that are designed to measure the value of the contestants. The test can be a simple interview, or it can be that they want you to solve a crime scene, but they can get very, very deadly, just like in Squid Games. And your mission is also to make it just to the next round, no matter what you have to do, and no matter who you have to throw under the bus. Let's talk about movies, shall we? So obviously I'm gonna mention the two that are obvious because I already talked about the books. So we have Battle Royale. I did watch the movie and when I was young, and I really, really loved this movie so much. Takeshi Kitano also has a small role in the movie and I also really, really like him. And I remember being really fond of this film. I probably should revisit it soon because it's been a long while since I watched it. Same as the book, you follow a class of students that has been selected to go to this island. They get collars in their necks and they're given a weapon that can be actually anything from a cooking pan to, I don't know, a chainsaw. Like you can be lucky or not so lucky, and your mission is to survive and be the only one left. So it's really interesting because they don't even have the choice to just try to survive. They have to be the only survivors, because if two people are left, then the collars go off and they both die. Next we have obviously the Hunger Games, because I talk about the book and I also really, really enjoy the movies. I think the movies are really good. Actually, you know, it's one of the YA movie adaptations that have been the best. and I really like the original trilogy. I was not a big fan of the Ballad of Some Songbirds and Snakes. I didn't like the book, I didn't like the movie so much. So I am just gonna stick with my original trilogy, both in books and movies. But same as the book, we follow a dystopian world in which we have 12 districts. Every year they have to send a girl and a boy from each district to the Hunger Games. They are given weapons, they are given certain rules, and they just have to kill each other and be the only one left. Next, let's talk about one of my favorite, I guess, guilty pleasure franchises, and that is The Purge. Now, even though in this one you don't have to go through games to get money, this is another example of humanity being just despicable and be willing to do anything when given the power. The franchise plays with the idea of what would happen if for one night a year anything would be allowed, nothing would be illegal, even murder is allowed. In the first installment, we follow a wealthy family who find themselves endangered by a gang of murderers during the annual purge, a night during which all crime, including murder, is temporarily legal. Now, these movies might not be like a clever plot with a lot of plot twists or anything like that, but one of the reasons why I really enjoyed Squid Game is because you get to see people's true colors and the things that they would do if they would have like a free pass sometimes on Squid Games. And that's why I think the Purge movies are something that you might enjoy if you love Squid Games. Another franchise that I really enjoy is Cube. And I don't know if everybody has seen the first movie at least, but that is such an underrated masterpiece. It does have a little bit of a cult following and it is deserved. This is a Canadian science fiction horror film, and even though the other Cube movies were also fine, I think the first one, that's where it's at. A group of strangers awaken to find themselves placed in a giant cube. Each one of them is gifted with a special skill, and they must work together to escape an endless maze of deadly traps. So we have 7 individuals trapped in these bizarre rooms that are basically cubes, and they keep moving. The film is claustrophobic, it's tragic, there is a lack of information, you don't know why these people are there, you just know that if they don't keep going and make it from cube to cube, they just are gonna be killed. It's a very interesting movie because basically you are trapped the whole time in these cubes, like the existence of the outside world is nowhere to be found. And so it's a very, very interesting film. Moving on to the human race, and we have here a big group of people, and they are basically forced to do that, to race or die. 80 people are horrified to wake up in a strange institutional setting with one thing in common, and that is that prior to their abductions they witnessed a sudden flash of white light. And also all of them were on a certain block in Los Angeles. The 80 people that have been chosen for this experiment, I guess, are very, very different. They come from different, backgrounds. They are also in different economic levels. There are richer people, poor people, bad people, good people. So there's a little bit of everything which you could expect when you have 80 contestants. And from the 80 ones that we have, they have to go on a race to survive, because here there can also only be one survivor. The rule is simple, they all have to participate, they have to stay on the road, they cannot go outside on the grass, and a lot of people are killed from the get-go, so a lot of people are already offed, and as they are less and less survivors, the stakes get higher. And from one race to another, because I would like to talk to you about The Hunt. Now, when this movie came out, a lot of people criticized this movie because basically it's people hunting people. But why is that so offensive, to be honest? It is supposed to be a horror movie, so why did they get so sensitive with it? I think it's because it was really heavily tied with politics, and a lot of people did not like that. But I really had a good time with this movie. Powerful elites capture and try to hunt down a group of people. However, their plans for a fun event are ruined when one of the captives proves to be too much for them to handle. I think this movie is a brilliant dark satire on the world and the world of politics and the right and the left wing. And even though I don't enjoy politics at all, it's not something that I am really interested in, I thought the humor really worked for me surprisingly in this movie, so I think it was a lot of fun. And I don't know if many people maybe avoided the movie because of the controversy, so I would strongly recommend you to check it out. It's clever, it's gory, and it's also about how we can succeed more if we actually work together. Moving on to another movie, and this one did become very popular when it came out, so much so that it got a sequel, and I'm talking about Escape Room. That was a time where escape rooms were becoming such a big thing. They were getting really popular. Everybody was going to escape rooms, which you will not find me there because I'm not willingly getting myself locked into a room. Absolutely not. I've seen too many movies to know that is not something I'm willing to do. I'm sorry. 6 people from different walks of life participate in an escape room competition to win $10,000. Things change when they find themselves in horrifying circumstances. The participants arrive at an office block with no greeting, and when Ben tries to leave, the door handle falls off, revealing that the challenge has begun. Now, this is not a movie that you would see and think, wow, this is such a unique, amazing movie, but it is very, very entertaining. And there is something that always works in this type of movies when you have such different characters introduced very quickly to each other, and then they are automatically thrown into dangerous situations because you as the viewer don't know them well enough to know how they will react, their intentions, their secrets, but also the other players don't know them. So it's always very hard to trust your life on decisions that the other ones make in the group when you don't know each other. And I think that's the beauty of these games, and that's why I enjoy this type of stories so much, because it is all about humans, our secrets, our dark sides, and not knowing who you can trust. And I have 2 more movies for you. The next one is a movie that I think it's heavily underrated, and I don't know if many people know about it or have watched it, and that is The Killing Room. This movie was fantastic. It is surprising, it has some nice plot twist, it has great tension, and it is a hidden gem for sure. 4 strangers sign up for a psychological study. However, when they get to the research facilities, they realize that additional physical and psychological brutality awaits them. This one is brutal. It has a very interesting plot. The whole movie takes place in this kind of exam room where they are being tested. These guys just think, okay, I'm going to kind of like a trial. We're gonna be tested psychologically, and then I'm gonna get money and I'm just gonna go home. But they realized that actually they went in for a lot more than they bargained for. The Killing Room basically takes a very simple premise and then it adds so much tension, and it's such a good horror psychological thriller. And like I said, I just wish more people would talk about this movie and would watch this movie because I think it's great. And last but not least, of course, we're talking here about Deadly Games, so obviously I have to talk about the Saw franchise, and I would like to specifically mention here Saw 5 because it has that kind of vibe of a group of people selected, chosen, that are kind of playing together. Normally in the Saw franchise you have the people that Jigsaw has chosen to go through these trials separated. But in this case, they have to play together to make it out alive. The plot follows FBI agent Peter Schramm investigating the murders committed by the Jigsaw killer. But as he delves deeper into the case, he realizes that the murders are part of a larger, more intricate plot. In an underground sewer, Ashley, Britt, Charles, Luba, and Malik awaken with collars locked around their necks connected by cables to a set of blades mounted on the wall behind them. And that is why this is probably the most similar to Squid Games, because they are all together in a room, they are all given the same instructions, and if they play the game together, which is what Jigsaw suggests, they have better chances. But as they start going through the rooms, they panic, there is tension, they don't know each other, they don't know if they can trust each other, and so sometimes decisions are made that end up with somebody dying. And this is another very interesting take again on humanity, decision, what happens when you're put under pressure and you don't know who you can trust. So from all the Saw franchise, I felt like this one fit the best. But if you've never seen the Saw movies, obviously I would still recommend you to start from the beginning, because then you will get to understand the whole arc of Jigsaw as a character a lot better. And these were all of my book, TV show, and movie recommendations for you guys if you love Squid Games as much as I do. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If there's any other movie, book, TV show you want me to give you recommendations on, let me know down below. But I love Squid Game so much that I really wanted to make this video, so I hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know also if you love Squid Game as much as I do, because I am obsessed. Thank you guys as always so much for watching, and I hope to see you all as always in our next coffee time. Bye!